Hello everyone, welcome back to the Modelling Novice. Welcome to another maintenance video. In this one, I'm going to be sorting out this lovely little Class 25. Now, my wife got me this just as a little Christmas present to add to my collection. And this lovely little Bobo diesel actually runs really well. However, it feels astonishingly light, especially when I compare it to a similarly sized Class 33, which is quite hefty. So, I had this open, had a quick look inside, and to my surprise, I found there is no weight. There is usually a metal block round about there with a bit of weight in it. So I want to see if I can change that a bit and add a bit of weight. Now, like I say, it does run, not particularly badly, but because it does have traction tyres, that does help a little bit with its pulling power. However, it's not perfect. So, adding a little bit of weight to the middle of this should hopefully improve the traction enough that has it running as sweet as a nut. And I will say, motor-wise, it is pretty good. Probably could do with a clean, but I can worry about that another time. So, I've got a couple of things. I have a few of these strips, which will make the bulk of it. And then what I'm going to do is fill around the edges with some of this and then set that in place with this extremely thin glue. Now, this does have an adhesive backing, which will make that job rather easy. One thing I do need, I'm going to need a knife to cut away. So I'm going to pull that right out of the way, and then I'm not going to peel the backing off just yet, but I'm going to cut a few individual pieces see how I can lay them up. One awkward thing is there is a little bit of a piece there. So if you look, the inside of that is not quite entirely flat. Okay, apologies for that. I didn't realise my camera was that low on battery. So just to reiterate, the inside of here is not quite flat. So that's going to mean placing these little weights going to be slightly trickier. Not impossible, but it is going to mean I'm going to have to factor it in. Now, these little fives, good where they are, so I'm hoping I can make the bulk of it with that, and then use the liquid gravity to fill in some of the gaps. Also got to be careful, because what I don't want to do is to go over this lip, if possible. So, there's another one there. So I've managed to add 45 grams there. Of course, the large squares being 10 grams a piece, the small section being 5. Let's just double check the plate positioning of that. Yes. Plenty of room either side, and I think I can probably get away with putting another 10 gram there, making that 55. I'm not worrying about it being perfect. So, a bit of the liquid gravity. There's essentially minuscule little lead shots, and then using rocket hot, which is recommended. Now, it's going to let that drop in and soak down. Now this doesn't take very long to activate. I say it begins to bond in within 5 seconds, so hopefully that's all the time I need for that. Quickly wipe off that excess. As long as nothing remains stuck to it, it should pretty quickly. And I can see it already forming a skin. I'd consider that successful. Of course, they are magnetic. After all that, pick up some of the loose balls. Take advantage of that magnetism. I do apologise for the banshee that is my child being very loud post bedtime, as always. Well, it's not a huge amount heavier, it does feel somewhat noticeable. So, considering the gearing is all a bit dry. Whilst I'm here, might as well. Put a bit of oil on the mechanisms. To keep it running. And of course, yeah. I haven't quite set. Right. I'm actually here, so alright. I'm also going to do, I think, if they'll fit. They'll not. But considering the space is there, not really going to get used for much else, is it? For anyone who is wondering if you can actually hear what my son is singing, this is Halloween from My Nightmare Before Christmas. Bearing in mind, I'm filming this in February. It has become one of his latest obsessions. There we go. Right. Now, I think I will say, the cabs look pretty bare in the plain plastic. Can't massively see inside. It is there. Right. Because it is all over this side. So now, it's quite possible that I could have, if I wanted, tried to hunt down now I could have tried to hunt down an original weight. However, those things are incredibly rare because no doubt the original one, like a number of others, would have succumbed to mazzoth rot. Now, hoping that the solvent isopropyl alcohol in this is going to give enough of a barrier there, and it will stop that from sticking further. There we go. Okay, so I'm just trying to cut off a bit of excess here. It's built up. It's causing the front power bogey to catch. It's not ideal. Who said this model railway lark was easy, eh? might actually end up eventually filing that to make it a bit smoother if necessary. That's good enough. That's good enough. Before I forget, give these wheels a little clean. After final reassembly, I gave the loco a quick test to make sure everything works, but the main test would be its ability to pull under load, which actually it did initially manage. I thought that would be the end of my concerns. However, a few days later, while I was halfway through editing this video, the loco was pulling some of my Stania Crimson and Cream coaches when it slowed sharply on a 4th radius curve. The wheels were spinning hard, but the loco barely moved. Upon further inspection, the traction tyres appeared to have perished and were stretched and brittle. Luckily, I have a few different sized tyres in my spare box, so I set about swapping them out for a fresh pair. This was a simple case of removing the bogie from the chassis and lifting off the perished tyres using a pick. I separated the bogie for the second tyre just for easier access. The tyres were so perished they snapped as I lifted them off. I found a pair of matching size tyres which were much more stretchy and supple. This just required gentle manipulation onto the wheel before checking that they were sat evenly in the recessed channel. Once that was done, all I had to do was reassemble the bogie and fit it back into the chassis. I'm also pleased to confirm the locomotive now runs reliably and can pull 5 or 6 older coaches with ease. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you like what I'm doing. If you're a newcomer, I hope I've inspired you to have a go. And if you're a more experienced modeller, I hope you've had a laugh at my expense. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.